Hello YouTube, Kodandi here. I was just reading through my Nithyananda yoga book on the topic of Pratyahara, which is a very interesting topic. It is one of the, bookmark there, it is one of the limbs of yoga, and it is one of the limbs of yoga that absolutely no one ever talks about and no one ever knows anything about, and yet it's sort of one of the most interesting and I think useful limbs of yoga, because it is the withdrawal and the control of the senses. And so it's sort of a transition from sort of the external forms and limbs of yoga to the internal limbs of yoga, from the asana and, these sort of external practices to the internal practices of, meditation, things like that. So it seems like it should be really, really important. But in this sort of, Western commercial, Instagram yoga world, the practicing the withdrawal of the senses is, it's not something that's commercialized. It's not something that can be consumed. It's not something that can be marketed. And therefore, it's not very interesting to a lot of yogis. And so, no one knows about it. And no one ever talks about it. And just this morning, I was looking at a yoga teacher training, and it was kind of boring looking. And Pratyahara and, some of the other limbs of yoga were completely not mentioned at all, except presumably in a review of the, Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And so it's a little bit sad, because I find myself now starting to really study Pratyahara, because I find myself that I have been really withdrawing my senses, because in this journey of long COVID and being really fucking sick, I have been having really incredibly intense migraines that are triggered by light and sensory input, in particular my laptop and my devices, such as my cell phone, my Kindle. I can dial it down so that it doesn't really trigger too much. So I've been able to get a lot of reading done. But my iPad, my iPhone, my laptop trigger my migraines like unbelievable. And in particular, videos, movies, YouTube, I cannot watch any of that stuff anymore. Scrolling online, looking at social media, Instagram, any of those sites, completely not something I can do for more than 10, 20 minutes at a time. I've been completely unable to work online, which is really difficult because I need to work to make income. And so I've found, I've spent the past month lying in the dark with, just in the darkness, playing soft music, or, sometimes when I've been able to handle it, playing an audiobook. In fact, this has been going on since probably about October, because my migraines and, some of the other neurological symptoms have been so severe that I've really not been able to do much else. And so I've been spending most of my time lying in bed in the dark, playing soft music and not much else. And so I've started looking into Pratyahara because I find that that's what I'm doing, that I am withdrawing my senses because it's necessary for my health and my healing to withdraw my senses. As if my senses are not already withdrawn enough, as if I have not already withdrawn from the world enough, my healing necessitates further withdrawal. And now, like, the doctor has upped my migraine meds so I can be online a little bit more. I can, start to make videos for YouTube a little bit more often. But still, I'm finding it really interesting and really useful to start to look into this practice of Pratyahara. Like, what is it? What does it mean? And I've not had any kind of special initiations or special training or anything. I'm just, looking at the literature that's available. And if you do a Google search for this, some of the yoga articles that come up are some really bad takes on Pratyahara. So I'm going to reliable sources. I'm looking at the Gheranda Samhita in particular. This has a very small section on Pratyahara, but I'm finding it really, really useful because it has some very specific techniques that it mentions. It's about internalizing the mind. The Nithyananda Yoga book, of course. This is available for download, free, online. I'll find the link. I'll put it in the Show More section so you can download your PDF version of this. This book and all of the other publications from the Bihara Yoga School are also available for free online. I'll put the link to where you can get all of these books online for free as well. What I think makes Pratyahara so valuable for, all of you, for all of us, and not only just for like my own personal healing of migraines, is that it creates an incredible stability. It creates a really incredible mental and emotional stability. Because, our sense organs are the connection from our inner being to our outer being, the outside world. That what we see, what we hear, what we touch, taste, smell, all of these sensory impressions we're taking into ourselves. We're taking these things into our being. We're taking them into our minds, our thoughts, our feelings. And whether or not we want to admit it, whether or not we want to see it, the things that we see, the things that we hear, the things that we taste, smell, touch, have an effect on our thoughts and emotions. These kinds of principles they use in advertising. And, advertising is created in such a way to make us hungry, to make us want things, to make us think and feel ways about ourselves that will make us want to buy their product. This is a known science. This is a known field of study that you can go and get a degree in and get a job in and learn how to psychologically manipulate people using sensory impressions to buy products. And so, learning to control your senses and to withdraw your senses from the sensory impressions that you do not want allows you to have a better control over your mind, over your thoughts, over your feelings, and to create stability in your life. And so instead of exposing yourself to advertising and, whatever, movies, music, TV shows, social media, even, bars, clubs, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're going, even people, the kinds of people you might be listening to or interacting with, or places you might go, or foods you might eat, instead of letting all of those other things, all of those sensory impressions control your thoughts or your feelings, or have such strong influence over your thoughts and your feelings, to control what comes in, and to create the kind of sensory environment that will create the kind of thoughts and feelings you want to have. To create the kind of sensory environment that you want to live in. Create a sensory environment that supports your personal life goals, that supports your healing, that supports your liberation, that supports your enlightenment. And you don't have to run away to the middle of nowhere and live in the wilderness like me. You can do this wherever you are. Start to look at the kinds of things that you're consuming with your senses. And if you start to think about it as consumption, and especially when you're interacting with people, whether it's online or in person, what kinds of things, what kinds of people, what kinds of images, what kinds of thoughts, what kinds of things are you letting into your inner space and your being? And is that really what you want? Because you don't have to expose yourself to these things. Maybe at some point in time someone told you that it's good to expose yourself to different ideas and different people and different things, but if something is harming you, and if something is really not contributing to the kind of life that you want to be living, then why are you letting it into your inner space? So that's just a little bit about my personal practice of Pratyahara, and the beginning of my ongoing study of this. And I hope all of you yogis start to inquire and look into this practice, because I think it's really valuable, and I think it's really sad that this limb of yoga is completely ignored and forgotten, and that there are a lot of people out there writing blogs and articles about it that are completely clueless. And I'm looking at you, Yoga Journal, that have really bad takes on this. So Nithyanandam.